Hi, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather. This is HC BookTube. I plan to do something a little fun today. I want to share with you my Rainbow TBR, which basically means I picked a book for every color of the rainbow, plus some other colors, kind of mixed in there. Um, I also, since I was having fun picking books for myself, I decided to pick another Rainbow TBR for my husband and I to share to read together. So I'll be sharing those books with you too. Just a couple rules that I've put on myself. When I was picking these books, I put the rule on myself that I need to have a book from my shelves. I can't go to the library and pick out books, so I go buy new books. It has to be books that were already on my shelves, and they had to be books I haven't read yet. Um, and that includes my husband's pile. I haven't read those books yet, except one. There is one that I'll be rereading, but he hasn't experienced yet, and we'll talk about that when I get there. Um, just to let you know, these are older books, so you're not going to see anything new here. These are books that are some of them classics, and I mean classics as in classics. um, but um, but before we do the rainbow, I'm filming this the day after Mother's Day, and of course you know I got books for Mother's Day. I just wanted to share with you what my husband and my daughter picked out for me. This is what my daughter picked out: Brigands and Bread Knives by Travis Baldree. I had the other two books in this trilogy, so this rounds up the trilogy for me. And I kind of had to laugh looking through the book. The first word I noticed was a major curse word, which kind of makes me nervous that my daughter picked that out for me, but I don't think she saw the curse word. But looking forward to reading that. I love that series. And I'll be starting a new series. My husband picked out The Copper Promise for me. This is by Jen Williams, and this is the first book in the Copper Cat trilogy. I don't know much about it. What I hear about it, the reason I kind of put this on my wish list, is that it's supposed to really appeal to fans of epic fantasy, which I am. Not really a romance in here, I don't think. It's mostly about friendship and quest. But I also hear it kind of takes a new twist to the epic fantasy. There's some dark scenes in here, but there's also apparently good banter between the friends and just kind of more action involved instead of an atmospheric tone. So I'm really, really looking forward to reading that too. Okay, so on to the Rainbow Bookshelf. And also to let you know, I have already started on my Rainbow TBR. So some of these books, if you watch my videos regularly, just a couple of them you've seen before. I've shared with you before. So I've already started. And another thing, it's going to take me a while, and my husband and I a while to get through these books. So I will be reading other books during this. I'll pretty much catch you up. I won't be reading the straight TBR. I'll catch you up as I read them on how the TBR is going. And of course, we're not going to be reading at the same time since I've already started. But like books are different lengths, so it's not like I'm going to be reading the red book at the same time my husband and I are going to be reading the red book. So anyway, enough of the chatter. Let's go on to the TBR. So the red book I have already read. It's the Big Red Book by Rumi. I think this book is old enough. It's kind of faded, so it looks kind of orange, but it says it's a red book, so I'm counting it. And as I said, I've already read this. This is a book of Persian poetry from the 13th century, and I really enjoy that. And for my husband, the red book we're going to read is Fool by Christopher Moore. I've read a couple Christopher Moore books. He's has a weird sense of humor. I don't think my husband's ever read him. And from what I get, this is a satirical retelling of King Lear. It says, now he takes on no less than the legendary bard himself with the utmost humility and respect in a twisted and insanely funny tale of a moronic monarch and his deceitful daughters. So it sounds, I'm pretty sure that's a King Lear retelling. So that would be fun to read with my husband, especially since right now we're reading Wuthering Heights. That'd be a good comic relief. The Orange Book, I am in, for my TBR, I'm in the middle of it right now, or more than the middle. Is A Wonder Book and Tanglewood Tales by Nathaniel Hawthorne, basically retellings of some Greek myths. And for my husband, I went kind of more by the spine, being orange, but we're going to do Airframe by Michael Crichton, which probably will make me scared to get in an airplane again. Now, I'm not going to really go through a lot of the synopses because I don't know a lot. I don't know a lot about the plots of these books. So I just kind of let you know why I picked them and stuff. But anyway, yellow. I decided to go for gold, which is a fancy yellow. This is This Woven Kingdom by Tahara Mafi. That's what I'll be reading for yellow. And for my husband, we'll be reading The Princess of Ireland. Now, this is kind of more, again, the spine. It's another faded book, but it is, if it's not picking up on the camera, it is a kind of a soft yellow. And so The Princess of Ireland by Edward Rutherford. Obviously, I got this at a thrift store. So, enjoy reading that together. Maybe get some of Ireland's history. It is a fiction novel. It is not nonfiction, but it'd be kind of fun to go into historical Ireland. For green, I am going to be reading I Captured the Castle by Dodie Smith. The only thing I really know about this book is that it has one of the most famous opening lines. I write this sitting in the kitchen sink. That's how the book starts. That'd be interesting to know why she's writing in a kitchen sink. But anyway, that's what I'll read. For my husband, the green, we're going to do Born to be Riled by Jeremy Clarkson. Now, this is totally for my husband's sake. This is actually his book. He had this before we were even married, so he may have read it already, but I think it'd be nice to kind of read it together. The only thing I know about Jeremy Clarkson is that he was on a British show called Top Gear, and my husband used to like watching that show. For blue, we're kind of going through these quickly. I'm trying to slow down here. For blue, I'm going to read Life on the Leash by Victoria Shade. Now, the next 3 books on my TBR, to kind of explain where they come from, these were given to me in a box of just, leftover books. A friend gave them to me. She's read them already, and she just passed them on to me. So they sit on my shelf. They've been on my shelf for a couple of years. I just never think of picking any of them up because, it's not something I picked out myself, but I am interested in reading some of these. So we'll start out with Life on the Leash, which from what I get is a romance with dogs in it, which is perfectly okay with me. Then my husband, we're going to read Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. Now, this is the reread for me. I've read Oliver Twist before, and I kind of want to introduce my husband to Dickens. We have read A Christmas Carol around Christmas time last year, so we have tasted Dickens, but I want him to kind of really enjoy a novel of his. This is not my favorite book of Charles Dickens, in all honesty, but I think the story is familiar enough so my husband won't have any trouble getting into the story. And I do think it's a good beginner's book for Dickens. Some people might disagree with me, but that's my opinion. Purple, I have Ballad and Dagger by Daniel Jose Older. This, I think, is actually a middle grade novel, which I'm not above reading middle grade. I might probably read it and see if my daughter would be interested in reading it later with me. But I picked this because that cover is so cool. I would like to go to a cafe and sit there reading my middle grade fantasy novel because it just looks too cool. My husband and I, for Purple, we will be reading the selected stories of O. Henry. You can tell I shop at Barnes & Noble a lot. We get the Barnes & Noble classic editions. I've read a lot of O. Henry stories. I love them. I don't know how much my husband knows about O. Henry, but it'd be kind of neat to read a story once a night and get to know what O. Henry is all about. Now, this kind of gone through the rainbow already, so we're going to start on other colors. The next color I have is pink. And for these two, I kind of went more by the spines again. The spine is obviously pink. This is what I'll be reading. This is Sea Glass Summer. Again, this was kind of given to me by a friend in a box of books she was getting rid of. So the thing is, I've never really read any beach reads. It's not something I really tend to pick up. And my sister, she owns a farm with a pond, and that's where we go swimming in the summers. And of course, last year I sat by the pond and read House of Leaves, which is, that makes sense, right? Read House of Leaves beside a pond. I'm just weird that way. But I decided this summer, and it probably will be summer by the time I get to this book. But this summer I'm going to try a beach read and see what they're all about. Now, pink for my husband, again, I went mostly by the spine. I'm going to introduce him to Alexander McCall Smith. This is the novel Habits of Happiness. This is in the Isabel Dalhousie, it's in that series. I know some people would recommend reading the books in order. I find that I do just fine just picking them up out of order, reading them as standalones. And I hope my husband learns to like Alexander McCall Smith as much as I do. Usually I just pick up his books because his titles are kind of interesting. The Novel Habits of Happiness. Okay, now we're going to get to the boring colors. So we'll start with black. I'm going to be reading The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen. Apparently it is a National Book Award winner. I haven't really heard much about it, except I've heard the name kind of thrown around. That's what I'll be reading. And my husband and I will be reading Dark Journey. This is by Ellen W. Eckert. This is nonfiction. This is about the Donner Party. And if you're not from the States, you might not know about the Donner Party. Basically, it was a group of pioneers heading towards the West. Probably California, I think, is where they were intending to go. But they got caught up in the mountains and in a major snowstorm. And basically, they were starving to death. And tragically, they had to resort to cannibalism. So this is kind of an account of how that happened. So we'll be reading that. White. I'll be reading The Member of the Wedding by Carson McCullers. A few years ago, I read The Heart is a Lonely Hunter by McCullers, and it put me in a deep depression. And I think I've recovered enough that I could try her again. See if I get depressed again. And my husband, the white book I'm reading with my husband is Miss Wyoming. Of course, it's not too white here. It's mostly, but it's mostly white. The story behind this book, this is by Douglas Copeland. My husband, he let me join this really, really cheap book subscription site that we saw online. And it was basically they're going to send me 2 used books every month. And we put down that I prefer fantasy or mystery, but they just ended up sending me random books anyway, and this is one of them. So I have no idea if it's good or not. I really don't. But we'll try it and see what it's like. And the sad thing is that I didn't even get to finish out my yearly subscription before the company went out of business. So we did get reimbursed for the money that didn't go to books. So it was a fun experiment, and we'll see what that's like. Brown, we're going to do some really old books of Brown. I'm going to be reading, you can't see the title here, so I'll probably just flip to the title page. I'm sorry if you hear my cat meowing. She's very vocal today. I don't know what her problem is. going to be reading I'm going to be reading The Sun Is My Undoing by Marguerite Steen. And I think this was written back in the 50s. And I tried to read this a long, long time ago. Uh, but it's kind of dirty. I think it's supposed to be one of those sensational novels. Oh, it's actually 1940s, 1942. So I think it's supposed to be one of those sensational novels that has a lot of, spiciness and violence. And I just thought it was too big of a book to really go through so much spiciness and violence, but I am willing to try it again. In fact, I'm going to try to force myself to really get through it this time. And my husband and I, for Brown, we will be reading Dragonseed by Pearl S. Buck. I don't know if you can see the title there. I have read several of Pearl S. Buck's, or I should say a few. I've read The Good Earth, obviously. Her most famous one. I've read Imperial Woman, and I've read The Living Reed. And I really like her writing. She makes things exciting. So I have not read Dragonseed yet, so my husband and I will explore that together. And finally, we're at gray. Probably the most boring color of all, but it is what it is. So I will be reading Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. Believe it or not, I had never read this book before. I've had it on my shelf for years and have never read it. I've seen the movie, but never read the book. So that's what I'll be getting into. And my husband and I, another kind of well-known book, Snow Falling on Cedars. And apparently it's another, Penn Faulkner Award winner. Because, of course, everybody has to put those circles on it if they want an award. So he and I will be reading this one together. And don't know much about it, but, again, it must be good if it won awards and it's very popular. So anyway, I feel like I kind of just breezed through those books. I didn't really have much to say about the plots themselves, because, as I said, I really don't know a lot about them myself. I'm going into most of these books very blind, including the ones I'm reading with my husband. However, stay tuned to my channel if you're interested. I will be doing updates on these books, the ones I read and the ones I read with my husband both. As I said, it may take several months to get through them. And as I said, I've already started, so I'm on the orange book already in my pile. But just if you're interested in reading how I review them, just keep coming to my channel, like and subscribe if you want. And just another reminder, I will be reading other books along with the reading Rainbow TBR. So thank you for joining me today. Hope you find that interesting. Again, these are older books, so I know I didn't bring anything new to you to recommend. And since I don't know anything about them, I can't really recommend them anyway. But I hope you found some books that you might be interested in. And if you have read any of these books, especially like the ones that are kind of popular, like Memoirs of a Geisha, if you have read any of them, let me know what you think about them. See if you have any recommendations. I'm also interested about The Ballad of the Dagger. If anybody has read that by Daniel Jose Older, give me some information about that, if you don't mind, please. So, anyway, thank you for tuning in. Again, like and subscribe if you don't mind. And we'll see you next week. Bye.